Good evening. So I've had a lot of people ask me why I'm doing this, and I feel it's really important to explain that. You excuse the mess behind me. I've been absolutely tearing my house apart for proof. So I'm going to turn on the video, and I'm hoping you can hear it. This is where he is being asked what his childhood was like. So let's listen
It
to
was
this.
probably an example of what not to do in regards to, how to frame a relationship with a woman. If that's what is that what you're asking about? Like maybe some things I said with Rolo.
Yeah, and like your upbringing, because
Yeah.
the reason we ask is a lot of younger men disenfranchised and they're really lost, and they're being raised by the internet today. So it's like,
Okay, if you can't hear it,
Yeah.
this is at the
Jeez.
32 mark of
Yeah,
his
so-
most honest video.
My parents met in Vicksburg, Mississippi. My dad was a manager at a McDonald's there in Vicksburg. He went on to he grew up farming cotton for my grandfather. He also took a swing at that. It didn't work out. He met my mom. My mother was 19, kind of running away from my grandfather in Vicksburg.
Okay, so let's stop it right there. First of all, it was Mr. Cook, not McDonald's. I was 16, and I'd been traveling with my parents. My father is a nuclear scientist, and he was at Grand Gulf Nuclear in Vicksburg, Mississippi. Doug, his father, was 28 years old. If my parents had known, they would have put him in jail, and he would have gone to jail today. It's
Or he was 27. They had me when she was 19.
18.
My mother was in those years of her life where she was not going to be monogamous. She cheated quite a bit.
Okay, once again, I was a teenage child, all right? And this is a 27-year-old man that was very controlling and very manipulative. And I tried several times to get away from him.
He caught her, divorced her. He caught her. He married her again, divorced her again. Um, the guys at church. Um, I then went through a process of 9 custody courts, watching my stepfather beat my dad up on Christmas morning.
Okay, we're going to stop right there. He's talking about the court battles, and I'm going to show the court papers in a minute. He's about to talk about a Christmas where this was before we started meeting at the police station. I was putting the children into their seatbelts. Doug was pulling a knife out of his back pocket and coming towards me. And his stepfather saw what was happening and stopped it. And I'm not going to lie to you, he beat the living fool out of him. Now, my husband was not charged. Doug Waller was. There's a police report that's been filed in, once again, Richland Parish. Let's continue going. We're at the 32.42
One of
mark.
us at about 5 or 6. I can still see it every time I say it. They sent us to counseling. She accused my father of molesting my sister. If there's something.
Okay, we're going to stop it right there. What he's doing is he's putting 2 separate occasions into the same occasion, and that's not what's happening. When I was pregnant with his younger sister, not the one that is with Doug Waller, his little sister was very upset about going to his dad's house, and I asked her what the problem was, and she said, Daddy washes me with hot soap with 2 fingers and hurts my tooth. Okay. I couldn't let that pass, and so I was talking to Justin about what was happening and what happened when he got a bath, and he goes, well, I don't mind the baths. What I don't like is Dad insists on holding my penis when I go potty. Now, I'm sorry. What kind of mother would not report that? What kind of mother would not get their children counseling? That's what you do when you've been through a traumatic relationship and situation like that. And his father, once the judge found out about this, he was court ordered to have parenting classes. He was not allowed to be around the kids without supervision for, it was maybe about 6 months until he went through the court directed counseling, teaching, supervision, all of that. So, you Yeah, damn sure did.
To
Damn
be
sure
seen in
did.
that space that's red pilled, I have lived it. However, I'm not mad at women. I just understand women. So my education of women through my 20s really helped me understand and unpack exactly what happened. And I'm not upset about it. I don't hold grudges. I don't feel like it's a handicap. If anything, it's you have to be able to flip it to a positive. But as far as the household I grew up in, it was back and forth depending on how the custody court went. It was meeting every other weekend at a police station and to make sure there was no violence.
Now, I'm going to stop there. That's not violence from me. That's not violence from a stepfather. That's to protect us from his father because his father had been violent with us so many times.
There was violence in the house, uh, but nothing that I feel like I would take away from my life. It's everything that helped me become who I am as a person, and everything I knew I didn't want to be, and I am myself as a result of that. I would say that um, my father didn't have the information that I had access to. He's a wonderful man. He was not around very much. He did a very, very good job of keeping him broke by
All right, I'm going to stop it right there, too. Justin's father never came to a single game growing up, not one. Well, I take that back. I think there was one time. And he didn't go to a lot of his college games. But you know who was there? Me and his stepdad.
taking him to court so many times on the kind of salary that he made.
Okay, now he's talking about this is at the 3414 mark. And he's talking about how I um, took him to court. Now, these are my court papers. I'm going to put this up really close so that you can see right there Douglas Waller versus Julie Cawthon. When you sue somebody, your name is first. I didn't file this. I did not file this, and I didn't file any of it. What was happening, the financial destruction, was from his dad. Anytime that there was something good that happened in our life, I had a baby, we bought a house, we bought a new car, what have you, was going on, he would sue us for custody and told us several times he was doing it so that he would financially ruin us. So I wasn't financially ruining Doug Waller. It was the other way around. And once again, Richland Parish Courthouse. Let's turn this back on.
And and my stepfather, I don't blame him for this really because I was not his. He was simply trying to keep my mother happy, which she had a way of manipulating him the same way she did my father. In fact, I joke all the time that my dad should send my stepdad a Christmas card every year telling him thank you. But there was no real father figure around for me. There was a guy that was fucking my mom.
Wow. A guy that was fucking his mom. Let me tell you the truth. Phil Cawthon loves Justin. And if you would ask him how many children he has, he'd tell you 5. And anytime he was at the ball games, he wore Justin's jersey. And that's my boy out there. And Justin didn't want for anything. And there was a lot of times it was his stepdad that drove him back and forth to Natchez. And it was his stepdad that would take off work early to go pick him up after practice. And it was his stepdad that took care of everything and made sure that he had what he needed. And I hope to God that he never sees Justin say the hateful things that he's just said. That man, he wasn't the right husband for me, but he was a damn good father to Justin Waller. And him saying that he's some guy sleeping on the couch. What are you talking about? I was married to the man. We slept in our bedroom. This is just awful. All right, so we're at 3443.
But there was no real dad. I got most of my male influence and structure through playing sports. Playing sports for me was the way to get out of my situation, to get out of the house, to have other parents want me to come stay the night so I could go to All Stars or I played varsity as a sophomore. And so I had a really impactful senior that basically adopted me, helped me with school clothes.
All right. So if you've ever played sports, did you ever spend the night with a teammate the night before? Justin was a popular kid, and his friends would come stay at our house. He would go stay at their house. But him having to, that's not true. The only time he had to is when our house burned down and we were just scattered. And that only was for about 2 weeks. So that's an absolute lie. And as far as him having to get people to give him clothes, that's a lie as well. I've heard him say on other videos that he only got clothes from Walmart. Walmart clothes would fit him. Justin has a huge butt and very long legs. And his clothes came from JCPenney's Big and Tall. Had you get it long enough for him, or Burlington, and have them taken in so that it would fit there. And he talks about having to have his clothes taken in all the time. And that's exactly what I had to do. And so nobody gave him his clothes. And none of my children left the house without their clothes ironed and pressed and looking nice. So this is complete garbage.
All those things. I'd get a job, and so I could do the prom thing and everything like that, man. But be quite honest, not the storybook of what people think that is going to happen, but I think probably more common than most are willing to admit. That was my childhood.
What kept you going? Like in the moments, in your worst moments, because there's plenty of guys right now going in this similar situation.
Yeah, man.
And sometimes they give up and they cash out in life. But what kept you going in your worst times? Like, besides the sports, there's something you probably held on to. Was it the future? Was it your mother, your family? What was it for you?
Yeah, man. I think looking at all I really care about in life is the man that I've become. I don't tie a monetary dollar amount to it.
Yeah, all he
I
cares
don't
about is
tie,
Justin. That's real obvious.
How many cars, how big the house. I don't think about yachts. I just really think about the man that I've become. I think that the money will keep coming as I keep growing. But what I wanted to do is basically just do my best and be proud of who I was. I always had this vision of this man I would become.
All right, I've kind of had enough. He's talking about this wonderful man he wants to become, and listen to what he just said about his mother who's battling breast cancer. What he said about a stepfather that would have given his life for him in a heartbeat. Do you find this an honorable man? You inspired by a man that would trash his family like this, say horrible things about his teenage mother? I think it's really disgusting. And this is why I'm doing what I'm doing. He's not telling you the truth, but I will. I damn sure will.